we will start.
Yeah.
Let them join. So parents, a very happy morning to all the parents. We have a very eminent speaker, nutritionist, Dr. Varsha, who is going to resolve our most wanted topic, how we are going to handle the food habits of the children. I know you all would be having many questions about the nutrition and also their habits, how to help them out sticking to healthy food and all that. So I would like to have Shantini here to talk about, introduce our guest.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. It's my privilege to introduce Dr. Varsha, an eminent speaker who's gonna fill in all of us with required facts to nourish our children properly. She is an internationally known clinical nutritionist, author, educator, and researcher. She was awarded with Srimati Malati Endowment Award in recognition of valuable contribution to the field of nutrition, Women Doctors Association, Tamil Nadu. She has participated in several training programs, conferences, guest invitations in clinical nutrition at UK, USA, Canada, Switzerland, Austria, Malaysia, and Pakistan. Now, I would like to invite such an eminent personality to share her perception on nutrition and nourishment. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you for the kind introduction and good morning to all the parents. Today, I'm basically addressing to you on particular age group. As you're aware, children age group ranges right from the time they are born, which is say the 0 months to up till 18 years when they complete their adolescence. But today we are addressing specifically the age group of 3 to 5 years, which is called the preschooler. And as you can see on the screen, I've used the word finicky eater. So you have challenges on 2 counts. You have a child who has to leave you and go to the school, but it is also the child who has to be fed adequately. But there is a problem because this child is a finicky eater. Now, first I want you to understand what are the developments in the preschool age children. First of all, from the time they were born, they were flinging their hands and legs in the air. So they used to sort of have what looked like, you know, they were cycling in the air, but it was not a very coordinated effort. Now, what happens at this preschool age is the first point you need to, next slide, please. The first point you will see is, the next slide, please. When I say that, please move the slide. Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, perfect. So the gross and fine motor capabilities expand. What do you mean by that? They are able to hold things in their hand. They are able to position it as such. So this is what is the expanding in them. And so you need to understand that you are going to feed this child such that the development is normal. Now, how do I know that the development is normal? At age 4, a child can hop, jump on 1 foot, climb, ride a tricycle or a bicycle with training wheels, and can throw a ball overhand. Now, why we need energy? We need to do activities. We have to grow as well as we have to do activities. So these are a milestone for you to know that your child is able to do all this with a lot of energy. They also have magical thinking and egocentrism, okay? Not able to accept others' point of view that easily. That is why we say finicky. They have their mind, in their mind something, and they may not be able to convey everything, but you have to be very cautious because your child is definitely having egocentrism, and play moves towards more organized group play, such as they tag or play house. So they are willing to play with other children. That is why we are sending them to a preschool for a certain number of hours. so that they learn how to play in a group. But at the same time, they will throw temper tantrums. They peak between ages 2 and 4 years. They can do a lot of noise, lot of rolling on the floor, lot of beating around the bush. All these things will happen. Why I am telling you this? For you to understand that keeping all this in mind, we still have to feed them properly. Also, you will find that the vocabulary increase from 50 to 100 words to more than 2000 words. That means they can speak a lot now, okay? And they can complete sentences. So you need to understand the developments in the preschool age children as such. Next one, please. So when I look at it from that point of view, what concurrently goes as the feeding skills? So what is it that they can handle? They can handle a spoon. They can handle a cup very well. So don't think that this is a child that has to be fed by you. You have to hold the tumbler. No, let them become independent by using their own spoon. They can even do cutting and spreading with a knife, but that requires some refinement. So you have to give them a blunt knife, the butter knife or something like that, and say, or even if you give them that sort of a spatula and say, apply the chutney on the idli or apply the chutney on your dosa. If you will make them do that, they will be a little messy, but they will be able to do it. So you need to teach them. These are called development of feeding skills in preschool children. Eating not as messy as it was before in the toddler age, that is less than 3 years, in the 2 to 3 years, they are not that messy. But you can expect them to be still having some problems in keeping the environment clean when they're eating. There will be unintentional spills. So don't get annoyed and don't shout at them at that point of time. You modify foods to minimize risk of choking. Even now it is possible because I said there is a development happening in their gross motor skills. So there is a possibility of them choking on their food. So you need to cut grapes in half lengthwise and cut, anything that is in quarters as lengthwise. Don't make it into small bits. If you do tiny bits, it will go and lodge in their windpipe. So make it long finger-like. That is what we are saying. Do it lengthwise. That also is important. So if you will remember these things in the development of feeding skills, then next one, please. You need to understand the behavior that goes with the preschool age children. What sort of behavior is there? While they are developing the skill of eating, you also have to understand their behavior. So what is the type of behavior that these children will exhibit? These children want to be helpful and to please their parents and their caretakers, okay? They will like to be told that, you ate that? Oh, wow, you're a good boy or a good girl. They love hearing this sort of thing. They want to please you. So you need to give them that chance and make them feel that they are being very helpful to you. This is a good time to teach children about food selection and preparation. Get them involved. You need to tell them, when you were weaning, you just use the words. குழந்தைக்கு நான் வந்து இட்லிக்கு தொட்டுக்கிறதுக்கு சட்னி சாம்பார் கூட வெங்காயம் சாம்பார் தக்காளி சட்னி. You might have used these words, but now is the time where you can tell them what takkali chutney is. You can tell them what sambar is, vengayam sambar is. You can show them the pieces, get them involved so they understand. And what they have heard, at the weaning time, they are now able to see it in front of them. And they are in a position to say, yeah, but I don't like vengayam sambar. I prefer katrika sambar. So you understand that you need to remember there is something in the feeding behavior that you need to encourage. Right? I have seen in many homes where children are just left or food is pushed into their mouths. Earlier, I don't know if that trend is there in the modern times, but invariably the mother used to have the child on the hip. Even if it was a 2 or a 3-year or a 4-year-old child, the mother will struggle and hold the child on the hip, have a bowl in the hand, and they will call the kaka and the kurvi, and then they'll just push the food into the mouth. No, you're not supposed to do that. You are supposed to get them involved now that they can handle the spoon, they can handle the cup. They should be in a position to handle eating themselves. So please understand, this is the feeding behavior of a preschool age child. Next one, please. So then what exactly is the age appropriate kitchen activities that you can make them do? If your child is a 4-year-old, you can make them sit and tell, okay, peel this eggs, peel some fruits like oranges and bananas, they can peel it. So you give them little work, or you tell them, go and set the table, put the plate, put the katori, put the spoon, put the tumbler, like that you can tell them. If you can even make them crack eggs, you can help them measure dry ingredients. Tell them, or kinnathe enakku arasi kondu kudu eduthu kudu or parappu eduthu kudu. You give them that sort of instructions, they are able to follow. Why is this important? Because we are not wanting to make them become computer savvy. Unfortunately, you know, children know how to manipulate your mobile phone, the smartphone. But you ask them to get 1 cup of rice or dal or something, it is not that they can't do it. It's because you didn't train them. So there must be some age appropriate kitchen activities so they learn also of how you measure it, how do you take it, how much they require. You know, it's a progressive way of learning. They can also make sandwiches or toss salad. So that's where I said sandwiches means that you're applying the chutney or butter or jam or whatever you're doing, that they can be asked at the age of 4 years. Please remember. And then by 5 years, they can even measure liquids. So if you tell them, you know, or cup na, if you give them a measuring cup and say, give me 200 ml of water, believe me, your 5-year-old will be able to give you exactly 200 ml of water. They can cut soft fruits with a dull knife. They can use an egg beater if you ask them to do that. So just imagine that these are the activities. It is not just plaything. That's why children have played something called house before. That is because it is not playing with the small little things that we used to buy. I remember I was given a tea set and a lemon set and all those things in plastic, you know, miniature things. But it's only now as a nutritionist, I understand that with that miniature concept that was given, I should have been trained in handling even the bigger things. So this is what is very important, age-related kitchen activities. So next one, the next thing is to understand what is their ability to control their intake. You don't have to push it on them. They have an ability to self-regulate food intake. Don't push them and say, you must eat this much. They know their bodies. They know what they feel like. Sometimes you gave them something in the breakfast that they didn't like. They might eat less, but they're going to be hungry. So they might eat more in the lunchtime, okay? Please allow them to convey to you. They have an ability. Please recognize they have an ability to self-regulate food intake. If allowed to decide when to eat and when to stop eating without outside interference, children will eat as much as they need. This is very, very important now. For the simple reason, most of the time the children are at home. And so, you know, the tendency is to keep on nagging them, keep on offering them things. They might be overeating or they have become lazy and not eat also. So we need to, I have explained, your teachers told me that, you know, you are the parents who have already heard me in my initial lecture. So I have not included any slides of my old presentation at all. You should be knowing my universal mealtime schedule. So as per the schedule, you as a parent is supposed to give them the drink or the food at that time, which I had already told to you. But now what you need to do is you let them decide whether they want or not. Exactly the way as you as an adult takes a decision, I don't want it now. But you can't totally leave it to their tantrums because they have a tendency not to recognize what they need at that point of time. They're so engrossed in playing or either on the computer or in the games or with their friends or watching TV that, they don't recognize they are hungry. So you must maintain, your job is to maintain the timings, make an offering what needs to be given at that point of time. But you do tell them, okay, you need to finish it. If he does it halfway through, then you can stop and he says, no, I don't want it anymore. Please respect your child's decision of what he or she can consume. You can adjust the caloric intake to meet energy needs. You realize that, oh, he didn't eat well for the breakfast, so you can push him a little more at the lunchtime. He didn't eat well at tea time, you can push him at dinner time. So you can do that to adjust the caloric intake, but don't be a nag and don't keep on forcing food on them. You don't use food as a reward or forcing child to clean the plate. Please don't do that, because remember, at this age, they have an innate ability to control energy intake. Next one. Now, there was a study that was done between a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and see the difference. Though we say the preschooler is between the ages of 3 to 5, see how much they evolve from a 3-year-old to a 5-year-old. This study says children served either small, medium, or large portion of macaroni and cheese along with standard amounts of other foods. The analysis of amount of food eaten showed that portion size did not affect the younger children's intake. Their intake remained the same despite the amount of food served to them. Even if you put a big bowl, they took a decision and said, no, ivlodan saapida mudiyum ennala. They took a decision when they were a 3-year-old. All right. But by the 5-year-old, children's intakes increase significantly with larger portion size. So don't think that, you can increase or put too much of food in front of them. By 5 years of age, children are influenced by external factors rather than internal cues such as hunger or satiety. That is because they are very, very distracted. If you will put one packet of biscuit in front of a 5-year-old, he will finish the whole packet. But if you were to put the same in front of 3-year-old, he might eat 1 or 2 biscuits and says, Podam, enough, I don't want more. So you need to remember this before you put food in front of your children. You have to be very conscious about the portion you put in front of your children. And please do not allow something like a buffet way of eating. Do not let them pick up food from the total amount of food by themselves. Portion it out on their plate and give it to them, and then respect what decision they take in whether they can finish or whether they are asking for a little more. Do not do the buffet system of eating now that you've understood the difference between a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. Next one. Let's now look at the appetite and food intake of preschoolers in terms of picky eaters. We did say they are finicky eaters, right? What does the word finicky mean? Whole week they might have eaten tair sadam. And then you will say, oh, daily my child eats tair sadam very nicely. You will mix tair sadam and give. And then on the 8th day, the child will not touch for the next 1 month, will not eat tair sadam at all, won't touch the curd rice at all. Okay? That is called finicky eaters. They have certain jags in their mind and I want to eat only this way. So they become very picky in what they eat and how they eat. So what you should do is do not burden them with too much of variety every day. Okay. You need to let them eat familiar foods which are very comforting, that they know. Idli, they know. Upma, they know. So please stick to that familiar food as far as possible. Don't assault them. Let me give you an example for that. They are like echoes. If you will turn around and say, Inada saaptriya, idli saaptriya, dosa saaptriya. If you will ask them that sort of a question, it is not that their mind is capable of analyzing what should I tell the mother. Like an echo, they will use the last word. The idli and dosa, the last word was dosa, they will reflect back and say dosa saaptriya. It's not a conscious decision. It is just catching the last word and throwing it back to you like a boomerang. Okay. If you were to say dosa first in idli last, he will say the last word as idli. So don't challenge them by asking question. And as far as possible, give them familiar foods because that is very comforting to me, to the child. The child may be trying to exert control over this aspect of his or her life in understanding that, okay, am I comfortable with this? Or no, I'm not comfortable with this. Why is mommy giving me this? I need to tell mommy that I don't like this, or how I like it, or how I don't like it. All this, the child is learning to make those sentences. And so because they're trying to, and I told you, they already have an ego that is formed. All right. So you need to encourage them on that basis to prevent them from becoming picky eaters that becomes finicky eaters. Okay. From what they pick should not be an obsession. So suggestions include that you need to give them child-sized portions. You need to serve it in an attractive way. Okay. And you have to limit snacking and drinks between meals that should not kill their appetite at mealtime. Now, how do I know what is a child-sized portion? So on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see a good estimate of a size of a serving is, if you take 3 tablespoons for a 3-year-old, you would take 4 tablespoons for a 4-year-old. And if you look at tablespoon, it is 15 grams, which means a 45 gram of serving for the 3-year-old. And then it becomes 60 grams of serving for a 4-year-old. Okay. So that is how you equate and understand how you slowly give them increased portion size without dumping too much on them. It may take 8 to 10 exposures for a new food to be accepted by them at all. So don't try putting food on the first day and say, please don't take a decision. They have to get used to that. Is where the first sentence says, familiar foods may be comforting to the child. So you need to make them familiar with it. How do you make them familiar? By repeating it at least 8 to 10 times for them to understand, oh, every time, I'm given idli, sambar, chutney, this is what it will taste and this is how I must eat. So don't do shortcuts on that. Don't tell idli with mulga pudi. That is, I call it a gunpowder that shoots the stomach. All this I've explained to you in the previous one on what is the meal composition and the meal schedule. So I'm just trying to emphasize that preschooler has to go to the school. He has to learn to eat on his own what you have packed in the lunchbox. And that is the reason why only if you have made them familiar with it, only if you have given them the independence to choose and eat by themselves, will they learn to take care of themselves. Children raised in an environment, all members of the family eat a variety of foods, are more likely to eat a variety of foods. But if even the father sticks to only rasam sore, or mother will eat only the leftover, kurma with the rice, each one eats something with a compromise, the child also learns to do the compromise. So please, for heaven's sake, what the child must eat, how the child must eat, must be having a role model in the parents and the grandparents. If they are not going to have a role model, they are going to find it very difficult and they will become very, very troublesome in their eating at this age. And tottilla vanda palakam surkaadu varikam po. So if you're going to teach them something wrong right from the younger age, then till their old age and death, they will be practicing the wrong way of eating. Okay, is that very clear? Okay, now we come to the next thing, and that is called food preferences. Now, when you look at it in terms of, next slide, please, the food preferences, their own food habits and food preferences are established at this point of time. Please understand this. If you miss this window of opportunity, it becomes difficult for the child. And if you yourself are not competent in understanding these things, you are not helping your child, you are making your child's life difficult. They are influenced by parents, caretakers, peers, siblings, TV. They spend more time away from home because they are at daycare, that is at preschool. Okay. So at this stage, children generally do not like strongly flavored vegetables. They don't like pepper fry. Okay. or they don't like chettinad cuisine. Just because you like it, don't add too much of masalas. They don't like strongly flavored vegetables. They don't like it to be very spicy or very sour or very bitter or any of those things. Food touching or mixed together, that is when you put it all together, one thing with the other, they don't like their food running into each other. Okay, when you put it in the casserole or when you do it as salads, when you do that sort of thing, they don't like it. They like individual items as such. That is their food preference. Children naturally prefer sweet and slightly salty taste, not very strong taste as such. Food served on a limited basis but used as a reward becomes highly desirable to them. If you will say, okay, finish this thing, and then at the end of it, I will give you, maybe a chocolate or maybe a sweet that you have made, one extra little portion. Okay, they are very excited. They must finish the full meal. And because of that, they get a small portion of something that they love it. And that is highly desirable. I'm not asking you to reward them. I'm just asking you to encourage them. But if you coerce them, you force them to eat foods, can have a long-term negative impact on their preference for these foods. Okay, if they may not like it in the beginning, but over a period they will learn. I do remember how my grandmother used to handle the children at home. My Chitappa's children were there, my Peripa's children were there, my Atte's children were there. In vacation, we were a whole bunch of people. And so the food was cooked as the regular way in the house. But the grandmother knew exactly what I liked versus what my cousins didn't like or what my sibling didn't like. So, but she will begin with the thing saying that, oh, today we have to make this one happy. Okay. So all of us are going to eat to make this person happy. And so, whether I liked it or not, I had to make my cousin happy. So whether though I ate it, I may not eat more of it, but I ate it. And then next day she knows what I like and she makes it, but the other children didn't like it. And she would do the same thing, of saying, see, today I've done what Varsha likes. Okay. And so we are going to make Varsha happy. By doing that, I slowly learned to accept food which I didn't like, but, I knew that my cousin liked it. Even at that young age, I wanted to please. Remember, I told this word in the beginning itself. They like to please the parents and the caregivers. So it was, and the peer group. So it was very, very nice on way how we learned to be tolerant to something which we didn't like, but because somebody else in the family liked it. So don't force them. Don't coerce them into things, because then in their mind, they developed a negative connotation. I don't like, I hate, that is the word that will come, not don't like, not dislike. I hate this food. I can't stand this food. No, please do not let this happen because of your mistake in supporting your child as far as their food preferences is concerned. So come to the next slide. Now, you need to understand that we generally eat rice, wheat, ragi, bajra, jawar, whatever it is, that is called cereals and millets. Please remember what I taught you on the food groups at that point of time. Now I'm taking you to the next step, that is called the staple of the life. So how much of it the child will learn to eat? Minimally 100 grams. And as they go, that is, they start at 3 years with 100 grams. They will eat up to 200 grams by the time they complete 5 years old. So slowly we are increasing on their cereals and millets. Pulses and legumes increases from 30 baseline grams to 60 by the time they finish 5 years old. Milk, earlier we said that when they were young, it was 1 liter. But we can bring it down when they're eating more solid food. We don't need to give that much of milk. So it starts with 500 ml, but as they keep growing, it will go up to 750 ml. So I'm now giving you the recommendation on the basis of food groups. Next one, when it comes to the vegetables, then we said that that is a nature's tonic to human race. So it starts, I mean, you need to give them 125 grams per day of vegetables. But please remember what I had told you. There are 5 different ways of categories of vegetables. So you have the green leafy vegetables, which is all the leaves like coriander leaves, curry leaves, mint leaves, all the kheeres that we have. Okay. How much would we give? Raw weight 75. When you cook it, what happens? It shrinks. It becomes only about half a tablespoon, maybe. Okay. So you need to green leafy vegetables in the category of 75 grams. Roots and tubers combined together. Roots is carrot, beetroot, radish, onion, and tubers is potato, yam, and colocasia. We have said it as 25 grams, but I would emphasize you give more of root, 15 grams or 20 grams of roots, and about 5 to 10 grams of it can come as tubers, which is to say, don't make only urulakalang kaigiri every day. Most of the parents will tell me he likes carrot, he likes potato. Only those 2 from the roots and tubers. And then because he likes more of potato, then every day it is a potato. No, there has to be either carrot, beetroot, radish, or onion, and there can be a potato, yam, colocasia in the day. I'm not asking every meal to be given all the vegetables, but you're dividing it in 24 hours. And then with other vegetables also 25 grams. In that, the water containing cucumber, tomato, gourd, squashes comes to on a higher level, and peas, beans, lady's finger, brinjal, etc. comes lower. So same breakup, 15 grams, 10 grams. That is how you can divide. In a day, they take 125 grams of vegetables. This is very important. Making them, because as I've written on the top, it is a nature's tonic to human race. You don't have to give them tonic if they will eat enough vegetables. If they will eat enough vegetables, they get not only vitamins and minerals, they get phytochemicals, they get enough of fiber, which means they will not be constipated. Okay. So next one we are looking at is fruits. In the fruit section, again, they are nature's tonic to human race. They give a lot of protection because of their providing minerals and vitamins and fiber. But please remember, as I had said earlier, you have regular fruits which are yellow and orange, citrus and other fruit, but you also have something called dry fruits and nuts and oil seeds. And dry fruits, nuts and oil seeds like figs, dates, raisins, sultanas, groundnuts, coconuts, sesame, that is gingerly, etc., are the ones which will give you both protein and fat. They are a heavy dose of it. Do not replace your fresh fruit with dry fruits. You must use fresh fruit mandatorily. Dry fruit is optional and additional. Use seasonal fruit on rotation each day of the week. Do not stick to getting exotic fruits from the market which are not seasonal. Because if they are not seasonal, that means there is a lot of preservatives or chemicals that are added to make it available to you. So please do not be foolish in thinking that if you will get exotic fruit, you are doing a great job for your child. And how much of fruit even these small children require is 100 grams a day, not necessarily more than that. Having said that, now let's look at some of the common problems your children have in this age group, especially in relation to nutrition. The first one is iron deficiency anemia. This affects both their cognitive, what is cognitive? Brain. Their brain and behavior disturbances will happen if they are anemic. They will not have strength to work and play. They will have, I told you in the first slide itself, the characteristic, they should be able to hop, jump, skip, climb, all these things. They will not be able to do it if they have iron deficiency anemia. They're supposed to learn all the little rhymes that are taught in the preschool. No, this will not happen if they've got iron deficiency anemia. Iron deficiency anemia requires them to be eating iron along with the fruit. And that is the reason why emphasis on getting iron, which is in the vegetables, getting them supported by eating the fruit, which has got vitamin C. So please understand, iron deficiency anemia is a major problem, nutrition problem in preschoolers. The second problem is the dental caries. There are very many children who continue to walk around with bottle in their hand, or they would have got an extended drinking from the bottle. Can you see the picture of the dental caries if you recognize it? There is also in one of the two, the discoloration. This discoloration happens with excessive fluoride supplementation. If you're going to use a toothpaste and the child tends to consume of the toothpaste, if you will put the full length, in the advertisement, they will put the full length of the brush will have the toothpaste. You don't need so much of toothpaste. Just a little bit is enough. It will foam, it will clean the teeth if it is done properly. Please remember, too much of fluoride will cause a problem. It comes to you from your toothpaste. In some areas, especially if you go to Ennore and that part of Chennai, there is a lot of groundwater having fluoride in it. So high fluoride levels in water supply leads to permanent staining of enamel of teeth. So be careful about this. You must avoid dental caries. Please follow up with the dentist and protect their teeth. Otherwise, at a very early age, they will all land up with dentures. So this is the time when you have to be careful about their teeth. Next slide. Constipation. Constipation is a constant problem for all the preschool children. Hard, dry stools associated with painful bowel movements. That is where I say diet adequates in total or dietary fiber guard against constipation. And fiber, I do not want you to give artificial fiber. It must come from fruits and vegetables. My child doesn't like vegetable. My child doesn't eat fruit. You are the cause. You are a bad teacher. Okay, I'm not talking of teachers in the school. The first teacher is the first guru is the mother. And nowadays we say it is not only mother, because sometimes when mother tries to do something, the father will say, and they are the ones who spoil the children. Or worse still, when you have grandparents, they didn't take care of instilling all these things in their own children because they were busy with their lives. But they are free in their retired life, no? They mess up the grandchildren's life. So please, for heaven's sake, do not let elders influence by not letting them eat enough vegetables. If they eat that is the best way of handling, because if you will give artificial fiber, the chances are they will be overtaking the too much of fiber, and this will produce diarrhea. Okay, so don't just take a conclusion by yourself, but please stick to the vegetable. If they eat vegetables, you are neither doing undernutrition, or you're not overdoing with the overnutrition. The diarrhea, as much as constipation is a problem, the next problem is diarrhea. Now, diarrhea are of two types. There is an acute diarrhea that goes along with infection or contamination of food or drinking water, and it is usually accompanied by fever and vomiting. This is dangerous because the child will likely feel ill and nauseated, and will refuse fluids and foods and sleep more because there is dehydration. This is a much dangerous diarrhea. And this is where you need to seek attention, not only of your pediatrician, also of your dietitian, because you need to know how you will feed the child despite the child not wanting to eat. You understand that? So there is an acute diarrhea that goes along with fever and vomiting and all these related problems. There is something which is known as chronic non-specific diarrhea. Here the child is not sick. It is a consistency of the motion which is more liquidy. Okay, here you know that though the child is having loose motion, but he eats well, has normal pattern of growth and development, okay, but excessively frequent or watery bowel patterns are there with this child. It can last a day or several months or as long as 3 years, can be caused by distortion in their diet, a cold, a change in water or a schedule, or antibiotics. There are several reasons why this can be caused, but you can seek assistance of a nutritionist, understand what it is and how to handle it. But please remember, in this condition, the child will eat well, but there might be some little changes we can do as far as the diet is concerned, so that we don't let it last for 3 years. We can control it and stop it at much earlier level. Okay, next slide. This is something which I want to highlight, lead poisoning. There is a study that found 2.2% of children in the ages 1 to 5 have high lead levels exceeding 10 micrograms per deciliter. What does high blood levels do? They affect brain and kidney function. And low level exposure to lead associated with behavior problems, decrease IQ, decrease growth. You remember, you will wonder, how will my child get lead? Pencil, I have seen my own schoolmates, my own in the childhood, my classmates. Even now, there are mothers who report to me, அப்படியே pencil கடிச்சு சாப்பிட்டுடுறா. That is lead. He's eating lead. Okay. And then you have got paint. You've got all these things around us which have got lead in it. Worst is when you put mai. When you put that kajal in the eye of your child, you make a bottu out of it on the forehead, you put it, drashti edakradhukaga, you put it on the temple. All these are sources of lead poisoning. You're applying it on the skin, it is remaining on the skin, it is absorbed by the skin. You are poisoning your child with lead. Please do not use kajal. There was a time when kajal was made, mai was made from pure ghee. What you get commercial is nothing but chemicals. Even from the pure ghee, there was a chemical, but that was that analysis. Nowadays, that is not what is used. We are using inorganic form of this thing produced by chemicals. Please, for heaven's sake, do not use any mai. Your children are beautiful, and there is no such thing as bad eye. For that, you make them eat well. Don't let them have infection. Give them all the love and affection. Please, for heaven's sake, don't use this. This is a cause of lead poisoning. And if you have taken adequate calcium, it protects against high lead levels by decreasing absorption. Another source of lead is, if you are staying on a highway, or if the child is exposed to a lot of fumes from the vehicles, the buses and things like that, again, there's a lot of lead poisoning that has happened, to the extent that even a mother exposed to it will give lead by breast milk. Please understand the impact of lead. Do not do things as far as possible. You can avoid putting the mai or the kajal. You can see and carefully watch that your child is not biting into the pencil and eating away the lead in the middle. Please be careful about lead poisoning. Next, look at food security. Children who are hungry and have multiple experience with food insufficiency are more likely to exhibit behavior, emotional, academic problems as compared to other children who do not experience hunger repeatedly. Okay, so you must not allow them to become very hungry and then give them food. That is why the universal meal schedule is very, very important. And you also need to remember there is a problem with food safety. Young children especially vulnerable to food poisoning because they become ill from even smaller doses of organisms. We may be able to survive that load, but not the child. So your food must be safe. You should not keep it exposed, or should not refrigerate it for too long. As far as possible, give them the food at the right temperature. Then you will find that there is food safe to eat. Having said this, now let's go to the next slide. How do we prevent some nutritional related problems that happen right from this age? Okay, the first one all of us are aware of is overweight and obesity. Maintaining weight while gaining height can be the best treatment for obese children. We don't like putting children on a weight reduction program. It prevents their growth, it curtails their growth, it harms them. We like to control the weight such that the gaining is along with the height. Okay, and you can understand that the treatment is best between 2 to 7 years. And here I'm talking about 3 to 5 years age group, preschoolers. But the range itself is from 2 to 7 years. And so most part of that range is in your preschoolers. So if child already exhibits secondary complications such as hypertension, high cholesterol, triglyceride levels, gradual weight loss may be indicated Sufficient nutrients must be provided for children to reach full height potential and to remain healthy. Because if you will just cut down on food to make them lose weight, they will not grow in their height. And you are not competent to understand what you should cut down, how much you should cut down. So please monitor the weight and follow it up on that basis. The other problem, we call this as non-communicable diseases, NCDs. And it is not that the heart problems come only to older people. Now we find even younger people are going into cardiac problems. Children with familial hyperlipidemia and obese children can have high levels of LDL cholesterol. So you will see this on your child itself. Fatty streaks, which can be precursors of the buildup of fat deposits in blood vessels, have been found in arteries of young children. Children 4+ almost had 25 to 35% of total energy coming from fat. They were eating too much of fried foods, or they were eating more energy coming from fat. And children with familial hyperlipidemia need periodic screening, and you have to control their saturated fat as well as their cholesterol. With great pride, mothers tell me, non-veg the software in Kolande, with so much of maryada, they talk of children. And I am so surprised that when you can give that respect, why don't you respect them in terms of what you provide them for eating? When you have not exposed them to fruits, you have not exposed them to vegetables, but you started off making them eating your non-veg, putting it into their mouths, they've acquired a taste which is doing them harm. So you must prevent these nutrition-related disorders in your children, and it begins with your preschooler itself, not when they become old. I find in Kerala, even a grandfather will be called baby, by name baby, or even the grandmother can have this name. It's a very generic name. And so I used to be very amused that how can that an old grandpa be called by that name baby? Okay. And then I realized, no, there is some wisdom in it. No, to the parents, he was a baby, he or she was a baby, and he continues to be baby to them. So they continue to call him that way. So please remember, your child is going to remain your baby, and you have to take care of your baby right from the time the baby is baby, and not what, and in which case you will protect them even when they become grandparents themselves. So the next one is, and this is becoming more and more important, this is called insulin resistance. When their obesity happens, you might be producing enough insulin, but that insulin is not working. It is like our Indian population. No, just now Olympic finished. We sent a contingent of 127 people and we got only 1 gold medal. So we have enough numbers, but we have no quality. Quantity is there, no quality. And this sort of a thing for insulin results in, when there is no quantity also, is when the diabetes comes in. But here the quantity is there. It is useless. It is not working. It is called insulin resistance. Can you see that line across on the neck of the child that I have seen in the shown in the picture down? It is called acanthosis nigricans. It is indicative of positive insulin resistance. Dark velvety rash on the back of the neck. People who are overweight or obese are more likely to develop this particular condition, and it often lessens or goes away with weight loss. We have done cardiac screening project on this acanthosis nigricans in 2006-07 for kindergartners, children in the preschoolers. And we found that of total 189 people, 1.6% had confirmed acanthosis nigricans from the period 6-7 to 11-12. We extended the study, and we kept on finding that the number of children with this problem is increasing. So please understand, don't take lightly your responsibility as a parent for a preschool child. Having said that, there is another important nutrition-related disorder that I want to highlight, and that is in relation to vitamin and minerals. Next slide, please. Children who consume a variety of basic foods can meet all the nutrient needs without vitamin or mineral supplements. Recommendation of vitamin and mineral is to be done only for children who are at high risk of developing or having one or more nutrient deficiencies. They are the children who come from deprived families, who are abused children, neglected children, or they have problems like anorexia, that is, they have no appetite, poor appetite, they are not eating, they are on a fat diet, okay, verum neyya sadam da saapduven na vera edume todamate, and the madri fat diets irunda only eating one type of food, or they are on vegetarian diets without touching milk. Nowadays that is another fad. And they won't drink milk at all. If they are in that sort of situation, only then we will talk about giving vitamin and mineral supplements to correct the situation, but it cannot go lifelong. So you must prevent these sort of problems that are related to nutrition. It is all in your hand. Today I've educated on that, but please, next slide. You need to understand the deficiency can happen because of 5 different reasons. You are not competent, and that is why I am appealing to you. Please reach out to your nutritionist, dietitian. Your child might be getting too little in, not eating enough. That is too little in. Or the child can have failure to absorb. The food went in, but the child did not absorb it. Or the child had diarrhea or vomiting, too much out, okay? Or failure to utilize. For example, inborn errors, children do not utilize. Diabetic people are not able to utilize carbohydrate, okay? Kidney people are not able to utilize protein. So inborn errors of metabolism can happen, which results in failure to utilize. Or there can be increased requirements. You are not competent. All 5 factors can be present, or any 1 or 2. It's a permutation combination that can happen at any degree. But please understand, this is what results in nutrition deficiency. Why I want you to understand this is because then you need to understand you're not competent enough to take a decision on where the problem is out of this 5 and how to correct it. So I want you to, but remember that there are 5 different ways by which nutritional deficiency can happen. Next slide, please. So I would conclude my presentation about the preschool child. Today, you people have learned more than the basic. You have learned very specifically what is required for your preschool child, because this is a very important window. You have understood how much of development happens at this point of time. You have realized that the eating habits established in preschool years will impact food habits and health later in life. So you need to encourage variety of food choices, nutritious food in the home and at school, nutrition foods for meals and snacks, avoid sticky, sugary snacks. You must remember that children must be encouraged to help with preparation, choosing, cooking of meals. You must make meal times pleasant. Good nutrition must be in view of that there should be iron, calcium, and zinc. Iron is required for their cognitive and physical function. Calcium is required for their bones, for them to grow in height. Zinc is for their immunity. And in this COVID times, that is very, very important. And they must physically stay active. Only the child that is active will be hungry. A lazy child will not be hungry. Okay, but they will still psychologically feel they have to eat, and that is where obesity comes in. Along with physical activity, they must rest well. Assured levels suffice to maintain normal growth and development. Please remember the biological clock is in their brains, and it is to be set right with sunrise and sunset. Even in this COVID times, the sun comes at its usual time. It does not say, the whole world is having fun watching TV and having all the fun. I will also sit and watch all that and go home late, and they get up late, so I will also come late. The sun does not say that at all. So please, for heaven's sake, even in these times when your children are at home, they're doing online studies, you must maintain the way they eat, the way they do their physical exercise, and the way they rest. Having said that, I have covered for you. The next slide, please. Please, everything that is related to a preschool child. It begins with the word finicky eater. What is finicky eater? Finicky food habits and food jacks. Wants to eat only a particular item at a stretch, but these patterns do not persist for very long. Please remember that. If your child is, you remember, your child is what he or she eats. And if your child is finicky, challenged, fussy eater, or failing to thrive, short-statured, overweight or obese, exhibiting hyperactivity, attention deficit or poor memory, or is diagnosed to have juvenile diabetes or an inborn error of metabolism. Next slide. Please remember, children are not very, very unique and not miniature adults. So if you're worried and anxious about your child's eating habits and its impact on health, enroll in the project School Nutrition that is being created by Indian Institute of Nutritional Science. That is me as an organizer at a very nominal fee. Why do I ask you for a nominal fee? Because I must constantly have a person sitting at the computer to, sort of answer your questions, make an assessment. We will make an assessment. We'll give you a form and we will give you a warning when there is a problem in your child. Inquire with the school. The Sriniketan management has been very, very supportive of nutrition. They have been constantly calling me and asking me to address you people. But I have found that you parents are failing in your duty. I come and give a lecture physically before COVID times. I would tell you, appeal to you that, you can reach out to me. Please don't ask questions in public and expose the problem of your child. Give your child a privacy, come and meet me. But till date, let me tell you, not even one parent has approached me for any problem. And that is where I put this project together, because I said, okay, let me give you another opportunity to discuss, or maybe you don't even know how to recognize the problem. So that is the reason why I put this program together. You can approach the school management or you can email to me on my email that I put here. But I would encourage you to be done. I would encourage the management to give me this whole thing, because class-wise, I will do the analysis. And, in subsequent lectures that I want to give, if I found a major problem in the group, I would want to address that and tell you how you need to handle. If I find more children are stunted, if I find that more children are overweight, I'll have to tailor make my teaching according to that. That is possible. I'm willing to do that, but you need to reach out to me and seek my assistance. Otherwise, it will be difficult for me to reach out to you at your homes. So I really am thankful to Sriniketan Group management. They have been very, very supportive and very, very encouraging to me in reaching out to you people. But please hold their hands and let them help you even as far as your child is concerned. So thank you very much for this opportunity to the parents and to the management of Sriniketan schools. And I really hope that we will be able to take your child on a very healthy growth pattern without any problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Varsha ma'am. Ma'am, we have a few questions raised by the parents.
The questions must be sent to me. I will give the answers and send it back to you. You can then give answer on your website.
Okay.
Okay. Because this is what I felt. People ask questions, they listen to my answer, but I don't know. I get no feedback on whether it helped or it did not help, or I don't know anything at all. I'm not learning new. Even I need to learn. These children are my teachers. How they are with what I taught to the parents what do I learn? I learn nothing.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yes.
So I need to impact these people in a different way. Send me the questions. I will give you the answer. And then we will see what sort of questions are there when I give you the answer. And then I'll give you instructions on how to take it forward.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
We have Rajeshwari here. Rajeshwari?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Yeah.
I am Rajeshwari from KG department to deliver the vote of thanks. First of all, sincerely, I would like to thank the Almighty for giving us good health even in this pandemic situation. I would like to thank our chief guest, Dr. Varsha ma'am, who gave her vital time in her busy schedule to arrange this meeting. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I would like to highlight some points, the key takeaway points. The feeding skills, They can cut, they can spread chutney, our younger children. And the kitchen activities. We need to take care of the food portion, and we need to know about the food preferences. And we have taken note about the lead poisoning, no pencil eating and no kajal for them. And we have noted about the food security, that is, they should not be left with more hunger. And we have gained some knowledge about the obesity and the insulin resistance. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your knowledge, sharing your knowledge. And we should learn the lesson from the sun, that is, whatever lockdown or whatever it may be, we should maintain the timings, the get up, the wake up time and the food time. Thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, to be very truthful to you, your each and every word is full of vitamins and minerals, rich in vitamins and rich in minerals, which is very good for our mental health. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all the participants, because of whom we made this meeting possible. Thank you once again. I would like to thank our HM ma'am, Ms. Tashin ma'am, and the management for giving me the opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks. Thank you one and all. Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Rajeshwari. Parents, we have received your questions through the Google form. We will collect the answers from Dr. Varsha ma'am, and we will surely send it back to you. Thank you, parents. Thank you, ma'am.